For more than 1,000 years, Constantinople had survived every enemy that came for it. But on the morning of May 29th, 1453, that survival was coming to an end. Ottoman cannons shook the earth as smoke drifted across shattered walls. Byzantine defenders rushed through the darkness carrying stones, timber, and weapons, desperately trying to seal new breaches before the next assault arrived. Across the battlefield stood tens of thousands of Ottoman soldiers waiting for the signal to attack. Watching from behind the lines was a 21-year-old sultan named Mehmed II. If he failed, he would join the long list of rulers who could not conquer the city. If he succeeded, one of history's greatest empires would disappear forever. For over 1,100 years, Constantinople had stood unconquered. Now its final hours had begun. Constantinople was more than a city. It was the capital of the Byzantine Empire and one of the most heavily fortified places on earth. Massive stone walls protected it from attack, rising high above the surrounding landscape and stretching for miles. For centuries, invaders had looked at those walls and believed victory was impossible. Arab armies had failed. Bulgarian armies had failed. Countless enemies had come and gone while Constantinople remained standing. Inside the city, churches, markets, and homes continued to function beneath the protection of defenses that seemed almost invincible. From the walls, defenders could see the sea on one side and open land on the other. The city appeared protected by both nature and engineering. Many believed Constantinople would survive as it always had, but outside the walls, a young Ottoman ruler had spent years preparing to prove them wrong. Mehmed II was only 21 years old, but his ambition was enormous. Since becoming sultan, he had focused on a single goal: capturing Constantinople. He knew previous rulers had failed because the city's defenses were too strong. If he wanted to succeed, he needed something different. So he built one of the largest siege forces of the age. Troops arrived from across the Ottoman Empire. Engineers prepared siege equipment. And most importantly, giant bombard cannons were cast specifically for the campaign. Some were so massive that they required huge teams of men and animals just to move them. Day and night, workers prepared for war. This would not be a quick raid or a simple attack. It would be a carefully planned siege designed to break a city that had resisted enemies for more than a millennium. Then in April 1453, the Ottoman army arrived before Constantinople. The siege had begun. The first weeks were brutal. Ottoman cannons repeatedly blasted the walls, sending stone and dust into the air. Yet every night, Byzantine defenders rushed forward to repair the damage. The city refused to fall. Then Mehmed faced another problem. A massive chain stretched across the entrance to the Golden Horn, protecting the city's harbor. Ottoman warships could not enter. As long as the harbor remained secure, Constantinople still had an important advantage. Many commanders would have accepted the obstacle. Mehmed did not. Instead, he ordered something almost unbelievable. Under the cover of darkness, Ottoman crews placed ships on greased wooden tracks and dragged them over land behind the city. Hundreds of men worked through the night. When morning arrived, Byzantine defenders looked toward the harbor and saw something shocking. Ottoman ships were now inside waters that had seemed impossible to reach. The city was no longer threatened from only one direction. The pressure on Constantinople was becoming unbearable. Weeks of constant bombardment began taking their toll. The walls were damaged. Food supplies were shrinking. Defenders were exhausted from fighting and repairing defenses day after day. Mehmed knew the moment was approaching. On May 29th, he launched the final assault. Wave after wave of Ottoman troops surged toward the walls. Arrows filled the sky. Cannons continued firing. Fighting erupted across damaged sections of the defenses. The Byzantines resisted fiercely. Soldiers fought hand-to-hand among broken stone and collapsed fortifications. Every breach became a desperate struggle for survival, but exhaustion was becoming impossible to overcome. The defenders had spent weeks under relentless pressure. Now the attacks kept coming. One position after another began to weaken. Then a critical breach finally became too difficult to defend. The city's last line of protection was starting to fail. As Ottoman forces pushed through the damaged defenses, fighting spread into the city itself. Chaos erupted in the streets. Defenders attempted to hold their ground, but resistance was collapsing. According to historical accounts, Emperor Constantine XI joined the final defense and disappeared during the fighting. choosing to remain with his people as the city fell around him. Ottoman banners soon rose above captured positions. After nearly 2 months of siege, Constantinople had finally been conquered. For Mehmed II, the victory was extraordinary. At just 21 years old, he had accomplished what generations of rulers had failed to achieve. For the Byzantine Empire, it was the end. An empire that traced its history back more than 1,000 years had come to its final chapter. As the smoke slowly cleared above the city, a new era was beginning. Constantinople would become the heart of Ottoman power, while the Byzantine Empire passed into history. After more than 1,100 years of survival, the city that seemed impossible to conquer had finally fallen, and the world would never be the same again.